Good morning. Thank you for joining us today as we work to bring attention to the risks to our nation and our Commonwealth our communities will be put in if National Guard technicians to be furloughed under federal sequestration. For those who don't know me, I'm State Rep Steve Barrar. I serve as the Majority Chairman for the House Committee on Veteran Affairs and Emergency Preparedness. Also, I'm joined by the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Baker, Minority Chairman, or Senator Majority Chair, sorry about that, and Senate Minority Chair, Salabay, House Majority Chair, Senato. We're here today about the National Guard technicians who are a separate class of guardsmen who are full-time federal employees of the Department of the Army and Department of the Air Force. They're dual status technicians who also fall under the authority of the state's Adjutant General. By contrast, most members of the National Guard have full-time civilian jobs in addition to their monthly duties. National Guard technicians keep Fort Indiantown Gap and other Guard installations at the ready for emergencies. They maintain military equipment, run the day-to-day operations of our facilities, schedule and design training maneuvers, and ensure our installations are properly supplied in addition to participating regularly in drills. They are essential to public safety and emergency preparedness. Join me today to call on Congress to exempt military technicians from sequestration is my counterpart in the Senate, Senator Lisa Baker. Chairman Baker?
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Barrar, and thank you for your advocacy on this issue on the House side. We have all worked diligently to address issues to support not only veterans but our National Guard men and women, and I appreciate the cooperation and the good work that we have done together. And the effect of sequestration on our military technicians is one of the most important for the Guard this year. As a co-sponsor of Senate Resolution 104 with my colleague Senator Salabay, who is the minority chair of our committee, and as a co-author of a letter to support this to our congressional delegation with Senator Bob Robbins, who is the vice chair of the committee, we have all urged Congress to support our National Guard men and women, and I use that in caps, all of our Guard men and women. The federal government should not divide our Guard men and women into classes, but that's what sequestration is doing, drawing a line between technicians and non-technicians. We know that they are all uniformed personnel vital to the readiness and national defense mission and security of our homeland. Yet the 1,800 who work in Pennsylvania are the only uniformed personnel who have not been exempt from the sequestration. House Resolution 1014 can change that. This is not about the virtues of sequestration, nor is it about Democrats versus Republicans, big or small government. These bills protect our uniformed protectors who are vital to the mission. So we need to treat our Guard members equally and preserve the vital roles that they fulfill. So I thank you all for joining me today to work to protect them from furlough, because they protect us from our freedoms. And I need to acknowledge and thank Joel Muchler from Penn Gas for his leadership and his efforts to educate on this vital issue. I want to thank the Guard, General Markey, who is here as well, and Dennis Guys, who is also here on behalf of the department. So thank you all for being here, and it is our hope that we can help defend these protectors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairman Baker, for your advocacy on the issue and for the work you do for the Commonwealth veterans. Senator Baker had to leave and run to a meeting right away. Next, I'd like to ask Representative Chris Senato, who's the minority chairman for the House Veteran Affairs Emergency Preparedness Committee, to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Barrar, Senator Salabay, Senator Baker. This is such a very important issue. The House yesterday passed unanimously House Resolution 360, and that showed the support that we have. This is an issue that crosses all parts of our country. The National Guard, they do such a fantastic job. They're responsible for the readiness and training, performing day-to-day maintenance on equipment used by our service members each day. Tomorrow we could have a disaster in the state, and they are there. They're doing what needs to be done. We cannot weaken their ability to serve our constituency. And that's why this resolution that we passed in the House and they passed in the Senate is so vital for our Guardsmen and the safety of the residents of Pennsylvania. I thank Chairman Barrar for all his efforts, as well as Senator Sullivan, Senator Baker, because we are showing a united front. And if you look behind me with our Guardsmen and our members of our committee, this is a very vital and important issue to us. We want to make sure that Congress acts promptly to make sure the safety of our residents is #1 priority. We're only one storm away from another disaster. And as we've seen the last few years in Pennsylvania, we've had more than our share of disasters. And our Guardsmen were always there for us. We cannot let, these budget cuts affect the safety of our residents. So thank everyone for their support, and thank everybody for coming today. Chairman Barrar.
Thank you, Chairman Sonato, for all you do to help make our committee run smoothly. It's truly a pleasure to work with you and the committee on behalf of veterans. And Chairman Sonato's resolution passed the House yesterday with a unanimous vote. Now we'd like to hear from Senator Tim Solobay, who sponsored the Senate resolution regarding this issue. Senator Solobay.
Thank you, Chairman Barrar. And my three co-chairs have very eloquently laid out the concerns that we have of what sequestration will do. The one unique thing that I could say, and I wish this was equal to all the committees and all the concerns and issues that we have here in the Capitol, but when it comes to military issues, veteran issues, the wall of partisan battle seems to completely disappear and go away. We, the four of us, have very uniquely worked side by side together on any issue dealing with the military, and this issue of sequestration effects on our technicians is no different. I would just like to again thank the House for their work on this, as well as my Senate colleagues for passing the resolution last week, and hope that our voice can be heard in Washington, D.C. and the President as they make decisions on taking our military technicians and removing them from the sequestration cuts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. We're grateful for your work on this issue also, and all you do for veterans of this Commonwealth. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Joel Muchler, Chairman of the Pennsylvania National Guard Association, if he would speak about this matter. Thank you.
Good morning. The Pennsylvania National Guard Association greatly appreciates the steadfast support of our General Assembly. Specifically, we're grateful for the leadership and resolve of Senators Baker and Solobay, Representatives Barrar and Sonato, as we fight to exempt military technicians from furlough. While the Pentagon exempted uniformed personnel from sequestration cuts, they missed a relatively small but vitally important segment of the military population, military technicians. The Pentagon exempting uniformed personnel from sequestration to limit the impact of ongoing budget debates on military readiness. However, they failed to include the approximately 54,000 National Guard military technicians. Approximately 1,800 of these technicians are here in the Commonwealth. These technicians support the readiness for troops in preparation not only for state emergencies, but for our federal missions as well. They're part of the total force and wear our nation's uniform every day. If you lined up 5 National Guard members and were asked to point out the military technician, you need to ask them what their duty status is to be able to figure out which one is a technician, because they all wear the uniform. These folks are true American patriots, like every other member of the U.S. military, and should be treated as such. The Department of Defense has reduced the number of furlough days to 11, but the savings does not offset the effects. The National Guard must remain ready to answer the call at all times. 11 work days without our technicians maintaining equipment, training the force, and administrating unit activities impacts unit personnel and equipment readiness, period. Our citizens require the governors as the commander-in-chief of their respective states and territories, National Guard, to have available the necessary equipment and personnel ready to respond to emergency at all times. Hence the National Guard motto, always ready, always there. In short, here in Pennsylvania, we want Governor Corbett to have the National Guard ready to answer the call, whenever it may come. In 2012 alone, the National Guard provided support to domestic crises more than 100 times, specifically 11 natural disasters costing over $1 billion. Imagine those disasters without a trained force to help those areas recover and become productive again. 15% of the National Guard is comprised of military technicians, those that train nearly 85% of the 460,000 member force. Targeting these service members makes no sense. If the federal government would permit the state's governors to cross-level funds, the same savings would be realized without the need to furlough. However, this option is not on the table, so the most viable course of action is the passage of a legislation. As such, U.S. Representative Stephen Palazzo of Mississippi's 4th Congressional District introduced House Bill 1014 to exempt military technicians from sequestration by including them in the military personnel accounts now and in the future. The President, Congress, and the Department of Defense all agreed to exempt uniformed personnel from the sequester to limit the impact on military readiness. However, the furlough of military technicians violates that intent. The fact that our government would condone the furlough of uniformed service members of any status is appalling. We're grateful to the Pennsylvania General Assembly for their steadfast support and joining us in expressing to the President and Congress that they need to correct this oversight. As of today, 36 members of the U.S. House from both sides of the aisle have joined Representative Palazzo in support of military technicians. Specifically, we thank for Pennsylvania, U.S. Representative Scott Perry, Charlie Dent, Jim Gerlach, G.T. Thompson, Alison Schwartz, and Matt Cartwright for their co-sponsorship of H.R. 1014. We urge the other members of the Pennsylvania congressional delegation and all members of Congress to join in support of the legislation that will correct this inequity. By adopting these resolutions, the Pennsylvania General Assembly is sending a clear message to the President and Congress: exempt these military technicians from furlough. Thank you for your attention and for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Mutchler. We appreciate your activism on behalf of the Guard. And finally, we have with us Major General Randall Marquis, Deputy Adjutant General for the Army, and he's here today with us.
Good morning. First, I would like to thank the General Assembly for their leadership, also the Pennsylvania National Guard Association, the National Guard Association of the United States, and the Enlisted Association of the United States in supporting this important resolution. What a team effort. Just like the Pennsylvania National Guard, regardless of the mission or one's pay status, when you wear the uniform, we are one great team. Since September 11, 2001, the Pennsylvania National Guard has endured numerous hardships, fighting wars on two fronts halfway around the world, while at the same time providing emergency assistance to Pennsylvania citizens during hurricanes, snowstorms, and other disasters. Pennsylvania Guardsmen have one of the highest deployment rates in the nation. Over 35,000 Guard members have been deployed overseas in combat operations. But consider the fact that we have 19,000 soldiers and airmen in our formation. Therefore, most of our Guardsmen have deployed multiple times. Our soldiers and airmen have continued to exceed the standards established by their leaders and expected of them by the American people. The Pennsylvania National Guard represents the values that this great nation was founded on. For their part, the citizens of Pennsylvania, as with the rest of the nation, have responded tremendously in favor of our troops. Not a day goes by that a Pennsylvania Guardsman in uniform is not thanked for his or her service by a civilian on the street. And I say thank you to our great and proud citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. These civilians neither know nor care that these men and women are in the National Guard, the Reserve, or active component. All they know is that these soldiers and airmen are part of a team that they trust with their safety and with the lives of their children. There's also no visible way of telling the pay status of these Guard members. In the Pennsylvania National Guard, we are made up of traditional Guardsmen who drill 1 weekend per month, and a full-time force that trains soldiers, provides security in our installations, and keeps our operations running between drill weekends. Right now, and during most weeks, I'm in an official state status. A large number of these soldiers and airmen, about 1,800 total, are what we call military technicians, which means they belong to the National Guard and wear the uniform every day, but are paid during the week as part of a general scale pay program similar to federal civilian employees. The jobs these men perform are essential and range from IT professionals who fix and repair our systems, maintainers who repair the equipment, pilots who fly our helicopters and planes, to include commanders of various combat brigades and Air Force wings. Unfortunately, the Pentagon's exemption of uniformed personnel from sequestration does not include these 1,800 soldiers and airmen. Our National Guard motto, as mentioned previously, is always ready, always there, achieved by a team of professionals and fulfilling their independent mission. The military technicians are an important portion of our team. As a result, personnel and equipment mission readiness will be reduced. This is an oversight by our federal government that needs to be corrected. It is for this reason that we in Pennsylvania National Guard support this resolution that exempts military technicians from sequestration by including them in military personnel accounts now and in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Major General, for your for joining us today and for your work on behalf of the Pennsylvania Guard today. And this issue is more than just the 1,800 technicians that will possibly be furloughed. It's also when the call comes out from the governor or the president, the state of readiness is impacted when the guardsmen go out to their helicopters or other equipment they need to perform their duties to make the mission a success, a better run. The technicians are responsible to make sure that the equipment is ready for any type of emergency. Finally, I want to say thank you to all the men and women from the National Guard who are with us today. What you do for this Commonwealth and country is incredible work. Words cannot do justice to how dedicated we are to you, how indebted we are to you. I just want to wrap things up by saying that as we're going through our budget process at the state level, I can commiserate with the need to control costs. But the National Guard is not the place to make these cuts. We rely on the National Guard as a first line of response during times of domestic emergencies. We must ensure that they are prepared to answer the call and complete their mission. Thank you very much, and we would take any questions if there are any. Thank you. I want to thank the members also for being here. Thanks.